In this video I'm going to be talking about action and neck relief on an electric guitar. Right, first we're going to start with action, which essentially in its broadest definition is the length of the string from the neck. In other words, it's how high the string is from the neck. This is a very important thing to have in mind if you're a guitarist, because by having the length different, or the action at different lengths, you can achieve different sounds and different styles that you would want to play. What you need to do to modify the action in your guitar is a little Allen key, which fits into these slots here on the saddles, as you can see. Also, you need one of these, which helps you measure the distance from the strings to the neck, because it has very, very finite, small numbers. So I'm going to be telling you the different types of measurements, and I'm going to be showing you how you change it. Okay? There are 4 types of action that are mostly used in the performance world. They are known as standards, the standards. They are low action, which is having a high E string, which is this string here, only 1.2 millimeters off the neck. Meanwhile, the low E string has a distance of 1.6 millimeters off the neck. By having this very, very low action, it would be very good for rapid soloing and playing, because by having the strings closer to the neck, you need less effort in order to fret the note. But that can come at a consequence that you might get fret buzz if it is too low, which can therefore hinder your quality. So you might want to keep that in mind if you're going to go for a low action. Next, you have what's known as the medium action, which is having the low E string at 1.6 millimeters from the neck. Meanwhile, the high E string is 2 millimeters off the neck. This obviously differs from the lower action, because the distance, although it's slightly higher than the lower action, it does take more effort to play solos. So obviously, by taking more effort, it's not the best action if you want to play those specific roles. But what they are good for chords, because they're not too low, so they don't have fret buzz. They sustain very well because they're relatively high, and they're not too hard or too easy to fret. That way, giving you good, easy, not easy, but moderately easy possibility to do bar chords and more complicated ones as you get further at the neck. The next one you have was high action, which is obviously higher than medium. And that characterises by having the high E string at 2 millimeters from the neck. Meanwhile, the low E string is 2.4 millimeters off the neck. This high action is good for sustaining notes, because by being higher off the neck, obviously there's less distance. Well, there's less of a chance that the string will ever touch the neck. So, obviously, by having a high action, it does come at the cost of it being even harder to fret, because you need more effort from your hand, and it can obviously fatigue more amateur guitarists. These, say, would be good for riffs and slow solos of that sort. And lastly, you have which is known as slide action, which is the highest action, because if you go any higher, the strings probably wouldn't be able to sustain that sort of pressure or tension, because they can only go so high. But yeah, it characterises by having a high E string of 2.4 millimeters off the neck. Meanwhile, the low E string is 3.6 millimeters off the neck. This is, as I said before, the highest action that is mostly used by guitarists, and it is very, very good if you obviously play slide guitar, which is characteristic of blues. But obviously, by having such a high action, you cannot actually fret the strings, because, well, it would be ridiculously hard. So what a lot of guitarists do that play slide is instead of holding it in the traditional way of your hand in your hand like this, which is what you do mostly, they put it on their lap as well, right? Just as you can see here. And they play using the hand like this, and they normally have a little something, I don't know its name exactly, in which they use to fret the guitar. But what they do is they tune the guitar itself to a chord, so that when they strum the guitar in itself, it plays the chord, and by changing the fret, they change the chord that they're playing, therefore making it more of a suitable, considering the high action that it has. Now I'm going to talk to you about the, and obviously by having slide action, it increases sustain even more, because it's never going to touch the neck. Anyway, now I'm going to talk to you how exactly you change the action on a guitar, because you need to do it eventually if you're going to be changing your style, or because it's gone a bit wrong over time. So what you're going to need is, as I said before, this measuring tool and a Allen key. Now, as you can see, if I wanted to change the action on the low E string, the high E string, sorry, which is here, what you need to do is you need to obviously know what action you want, if you want low, medium, high, or slide. And then what you do is you measure it on a table so that it's level, otherwise you won't know. What you need to do is you need to put it here on the neck, and if you can see here, it shows you how high the string is by these little, say, rectangles almost, and that tells you how high the string is in millimeters, so you can adjust it accordingly. Obviously, well, at the moment I'm not going to be changing the action, because that will take probably too long. But what you need to do is a very important thing is you need to make sure that you adjust both of them with the same amount of twist, tightening it or loosening it, because by having the saddle, or by tightening or loosening one side more so than the other, it just isn't beneficial to the guitar. I'm trying to think what else I can say. Anything else?
You've got to do your truss one now.
That's neck relief from talking about action.
That's right, guys.
I can't think of anything else to say.
You want to stop this now then? And
Yeah.
let it.
Then we'll go on to neck relief.